Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Before starting the video, if you are new here, please support and subscribe to my channel. Let's start with the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. In 1697, a catastrophic fire broke out at the Royal Library inside Stockholm's Tre Kronor Castle. At the time, the library contained about 25,000 books and 14,000 manuscripts. Sadly, only about a quarter survived. As the flames spread, frantic librarians threw precious books out of windows to try and save them. One of these heavy tomes struck a bystander, nearly killing him. It wasn't just any book. It was enormous, measuring 3 feet long, 20 inches wide, and nearly 9 inches thick. Weighing 175 pounds, it was heavier than most people's luggage. This colossal volume is known as the Codex Gigas, Latin for giant book. It holds the record as the largest surviving illuminated medieval manuscript. The Codex Gigas is an impressive collection containing the entire Old and New Testaments, along with other significant works. Among these are the writings of Jewish historian Flavius Josephus and Isidore of Seville's Etymologies, an early encyclopedia of language, science, and history. The manuscript also includes Ars Medicina, a medieval guide to medicine and treatments for various illnesses, and Chronica Bohemorum, a 12th century chronicle by Cosmas of Prague, detailing the history of Bohemia. There's even a calendar listing saints' feast days and important figures from the region. Up to this point, it seems like a grand medieval encyclopedia. But the book takes a sinister turn. On page 290, there's a chilling full-page portrait of the devil, giving the Codex Gigas its infamous nickname, the Devil's Bible. After this illustration, the manuscript dives into sections on black magic, exorcisms, and necromancy. Today, the Codex Gigas is housed in the National Library of Sweden, protected behind glass and rarely handled. However, its roots lie in the Czech Republic, and it carries with it a legend that adds to its dark reputation. In the 13th century, at the Benedictine monastery of Pulkowa in Bohemia, a monk named Herman the Recluse is said to have broken his sacred vows. His punishment was severe. He was to be sealed alive inside a wall, left to die slowly. Begging for mercy, Herman offered to create a book so magnificent that it would bring glory to the monastery forever, a book that captured all human knowledge. Granted one night to complete the task, Herman soon realized it was impossible. Desperate, he is said to have invoked the devil, striking a bargain. In exchange for his soul, the devil would help him finish the manuscript. By morning, the giant book was complete, allegedly bound in leather, made from over 160 donkey hides. The Codex Gigas amazed people so much that it was once counted among the 7 wonders of the world. Even today, experts marvel at its consistency. No spelling errors, no ink smudges, and perfectly uniform handwriting across all 320 pages. Forensic analysts agree it appears to have been written by a single person. Estimates suggest that if someone worked 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, it would have taken about 5 years to complete. If a monk worked just 3 hours daily, the project could have stretched to 10 years or more, and that's not counting the time needed for ruling lines and decorations, potentially pushing the work to 20 or even 30 years. Yet, here's the eerie detail. Typically, handwriting changes subtly over decades as a person ages. But in the Codex Gigas, the handwriting remains exactly the same throughout. This extraordinary consistency fuels the myth that it wasn't created by human hands at all, but by the devil himself. The Devil's Bible seemed to carry a curse wherever it went. Not long after it was created, its birthplace, the Podlages Monastery, was destroyed, but somehow, the book always managed to survive. Recognizing its value, the Cistercian Sedlec Abbey, one of the wealthiest and most powerful monasteries in Bohemia, acquired the Codex Gigas before Podlages met its end. But wherever the book went, death and destruction followed. In the mid-14th century, the Black Death swept through the region, wiping out half of Europe's population. The death toll was so overwhelming that there wasn't enough space to bury the dead. In response, the monks of Sedlec made a chilling decision. They began exhuming old graves, combining remains from past and present, and storing the bones in a dedicated space, an ossuary. Over 40,000 human skeletons were said to be stored in the ossuary. But the monks didn't stop at simply stacking bones. They turned death into design. They transformed human remains into haunting works of art, decorating the chapel with bone chandeliers, walls lined with femurs, and pyramids made entirely of skulls. Rib cages, spines, and leg bones were arranged into elaborate patterns and towering structures. But perhaps the most disturbing piece of all was the Schwarzenberg coat of arms, including a raven pecking out the eye of a skull from the Sedlec monastery. The Codex Gigas was transferred to the renowned Jevnov monastery in Prague, the capital of Bohemia. There, it remained under the care of monks for nearly 3 centuries. However, the Devil's Bible always seemed to attract the gaze of power, and this time, it caught the eye of one of the most curious minds in history, Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II. Rudolf was no ordinary ruler. He was a collector of strange and advanced artifacts with a deep obsession for alchemy, astrology, and the occult. He often locked himself away in his chamber, surrounded by relics, staring at them for hours in silence, as if searching for hidden truths. So, when he heard of a massive book filled with exorcisms, magical formulas, healing rituals, and even a full-page portrait of the devil, he had to have it. Rudolf moved the capital of the Holy Roman Empire from Vienna to Prague, turning the city into a hub for mystics, alchemists, and scholars. There, he pressured the monks of Jevnov into loaning him the Codex Gigas, but it was never returned. Rudolf added the Devil's Bible to his personal collection, mesmerized by it. To him, it wasn't just a book, it was a source of power. His obsession with the occult soon earned him a chilling nickname, the Mad Alchemist Emperor. But, as with all who came too close to the Devil's Bible, things began to fall apart. His empire was plagued by revolts, political instability, and war with the Ottomans. One blow after another weakened his rule until, finally, his own brothers stripped him of his titles. Rudolf was king no more. In his final words to the people, he said, "I gave you knowledge, and you gave me betrayal." After the death of Emperor Rudolf II in 1612, Europe was engulfed in the chaos of the 30 Years' War, led by Queen Christina of Sweden. It was such a brutal and complex conflict that it led to the deaths of over 8 million people. Prague became a target in the final stages of the war. In 1648, Swedish forces under General Hans Christoph von Königsmarck launched a surprise attack and successfully stormed Prague Castle, taking advantage of the city's weakened defenses. The Swedes ransacked the castle's treasures, making off with vast collections of art, scientific instruments, manuscripts, and rare books, many of which had belonged to Rudolf II himself. Queen Christina was a brilliant ruler with a fascination, almost a mania, for collecting books. She had heard of the Devil's Bible and was determined to add it to her collection. When Swedish forces raided Prague, they recovered the Codex Gigas from the treasure trove of Emperor Rudolf II, and the massive manuscript was brought back to Sweden. It was housed first in Queen Christina's personal library and later moved to the Swedish Royal Library in Stockholm. But again, the book came not alone. It brought ruin with it. After ruling for 22 years, Queen Christina gave up her throne, converted to Catholicism, and moved to Rome, where she spent the rest of her life under the Pope's protection. In 1697, a devastating fire erupted at Stockholm's Royal Library. Remarkably, the Codex Gigas survived once again, though it wasn't left unscathed. It was thrown out of a window during the rescue effort and still shows damage from the fire. 3 days after the disaster, a formal investigation was held to find the cause. The chief fire watcher and his 2 assistants were found guilty of negligence for abandoning their posts and were sentenced to death. Still, the real cause of the fire was never definitively determined. Following the fire, the manuscript changed hands several times before eventually finding a permanent home at the National Library of Sweden, where it remains today. The Codex Gigas originally had 320 vellum pages, but somewhere along its mysterious journey, 10 leaves were removed, including one that was intentionally cut out directly after the infamous full-page image of the devil. Some believe those missing pages contained rituals, spells, or even the incantation Herman the Recluse used to summon the devil. In 1858, an unusual story appeared in Tokla Liga Anekdoter. Hilarious anecdotes. It told of a caretaker at the National Library who, after an exhausting day, fell asleep in the main hall. When he woke, he was horrified to see the books come alive, crawling off shelves and swirling through the air in a frenzied dance around the Codex Gigas. By morning, the caretaker was found hiding under a table, paralyzed with fear and unable to speak clearly. His condition deteriorated, and he was eventually declared insane and committed to an asylum. In 2007, the Devil's Bible was loaned to the Czech Republic and displayed in the National Library. Visitors were allowed to view the book, but only for a maximum of 10 minutes, as an illuminated manuscript. The Codex Gigas features numerous illustrations and decorative elements throughout its pages. Many of these drawings are striking, but the most famous are the full-page depictions of the devil and the heavenly city, which are placed in stark contrast to one another. The devil is portrayed as a massive, monstrous figure dominating the entirety of hell. His large claws extend outward, his red-tipped horns rise above his head, and his small red eyes glow ominously. His green face is twisted in an unsettling expression, and his 2 long red tongues hang down. He crouches between 2 imposing towers, wearing a loincloth, a material typically reserved for royalty, possibly alluding to the devil's status as the Prince of Darkness. While depictions of the devil were common in medieval art, this image stands out due to its size and solitary presentation, occupying an entire page. Opposite the devil is the full-page portrayal of the heavenly city. It is depicted with tiered buildings, towering structures, and red walls that surround the city. Just like the devil's image, it features 2 large towers on either side, offering a visual symmetry between the 2 illustrations. The heavenly city is intended to evoke hope and salvation, offering a stark contrast to the evil represented by the devil. Together, these illustrations likely serve as a meditation on the consequences of one's actions, a reminder of what awaits after death, depending on whether one leads a virtuous or sinful life. The text before the heavenly city discusses penitence, while the passage after the devil is focused on exorcisms. Whether or not the Devil's Bible was truly written by the devil, one undeniable aspect of it is that it contains occult knowledge. The term occult refers to things hidden from ordinary sight or understanding, concealed from the public eye. This is the nature of many occult books. Forbidden knowledge and dark secrets are often veiled by seemingly harmless or even beneficial content. Take the Devil's Bible, for example. It contains the Old and New Testaments, the history of Bohemia, and medical works. To the unknowing reader, it might appear to be just another book filled with familiar, accessible knowledge. But suddenly, the book reveals a disturbing image of the devil, followed by dark magic formulas, forbidden spells, and other occult content. In this way, readers unknowingly venture from common knowledge into dangerous, hidden territory. This is why one must tread carefully when exploring occult books. What seems harmless at first can quickly drag you into a world of darkness beyond understanding. Around the same time the Devil's Bible appeared, another eerie story surfaced just 30 miles north of Prague at the mysterious Hauska Castle. Unlike most castles, Hauska wasn't built to keep enemies out. Its walls and defenses point inward, as if designed to trap something inside. The current stone structure was built around 1270, shortly after the Codex Gigas was completed. But the castle's dark history stretches much further back. According to local historians, an earlier wooden structure dating to around 870 stood atop a massive stone. One day, the stone split open, unleashing terrifying winged creatures and a stench of sulfur that poisoned the land. Crops withered, livestock vanished or fell ill, and villagers came to believe that the crack was a portal to hell itself. To combat the evil, a second structure was built, and later, the stone castle of 1270 was erected with a singular purpose: to seal the gaping wound in the earth. A chapel was built directly over the crack, its walls covered with ominous frescoes, warning of the horrors beneath. Historian Tony McMahon uncovered a chilling tradition associated with Hauska. Prisoners were given a grim choice: face brutal execution or be lowered into the pit. One man accepted the challenge. Moments after his descent, he let out blood-curdling screams. When they pulled him back up, he was pale, trembling, and completely insane. Whatever he witnessed in the darkness had shattered his mind forever. In 1938, as World War II unfolded, the Nazis, led by Heinrich Himmler, a man obsessed with the occult, seized Hauska Castle. Fascinated by its dark legends, Himmler turned the site into a place for sinister experiments, using prisoners for horrific rituals meant to harness supernatural forces. At the same time in Prague, two chilling tales were circulating. One, about the Codex Gigas, the legendary book supposedly created with the devil's aid, and the other, about Hauska Castle, believed to guard a literal gateway to hell. It makes you wonder, were these just eerie coincidences? Or was something truly sinister looming over that land? A dark force that left behind both a cursed manuscript and a cursed gateway that should never have been disturbed. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications to stay updated. Allah bless you all.